Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parent stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My Karen wife cheated. I got revenge. After that, how I got Karen's dog to stop going to the bathroom in my lawn. And after that, entitled mom asks my opinion, doesn't like the answer. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets caught cheating. Sometimes we just get a little lonely. So please smash that like button, and if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My Karen wife cheated. I got revenge. Central characters. I, 30 male. My best friend, Ace, 30 male. And my jerk ex, who I was married to for 5 years, 28 female. We were married right out of college after our graduate and undergrad respectively. Ace is single. Story. 2 years ago, I worked at a startup in South Carolina and put in long hours that seemed to have a strain on our marriage. While our love lives were good, I felt my ex was being distant at times and asked her about it, only to be reassured that there was nothing wrong and she understood the long, hard hours. I both liked and hated this job. It was flexible in the hours, but I ended up working way more than a traditional 9 to 5 for similar pay at the time. Ace and I are the best of friends of over 13 years since high school. There are a couple of issues we have polar opposite stances on and are really passionate about our positions, but in general we get along really well. One night I invited him over for beer and we got a little too drunk and ended up arguing a lot over this issue. It didn't get physical, but some really harsh words were said by both parties and it ended with him leaving the house and me visibly angry. The next morning I called him up first thing and we both apologized to each other and that was that. However, my ex was unaware of this and came up to me bad-mouthing Ace. I thought this was a little atypical of her since she doesn't do that normally, but chalked it off to her being comforting and affectionate towards me. I told her it wasn't a big deal and that Ace and I were fine and left for work. Now, in what I can only describe as winning the Powerball, I met Ace at the gas station on the way to work. He normally works from home and was on his way to visit his dad for the weekend. We decided to have a couple of beers to make up for the previous night and headed to a small quiet bar I like to visit. There, the unexpected happens, and Ace receives a call from my ex. She asks if he was alone, and he says yes, looking perplexed. This lovely woman then proceeds to apologize for my behavior the previous night and asks if she can make it up to him. He pretended that he couldn't hear her and puts it on loudspeaker for both of us to hear and asks her to repeat. My ex proceeds to proposition him for hooking up, using the cliched excuses of being lonely and how I work long hours, and that how I wouldn't find out given our, me and Ace, falling out. She then repeats all the bad-mouthing she had done earlier in the day to me with a caveat that I said all of those things. Now my ex is no Einstein, but surely there's no way Ace buys that crap. He tells her that he will call her in a bit because of a client and hangs up. I was devastated with my face buried in my palms because I knew our marriage was over. I have a few strict boundaries in life, and I don't care if it's a 5-year or a 50-year marriage. Cheating equals divorce. The only thing was, if I could somehow get out of it without losing much, because I knew the alimony would do me over, given that I made nearly 3 times what she made. We didn't have kids, and only little in marital property, and I was okay with losing half the joint account since I was young and there wasn't a whole lot. South Carolina has a fault divorce for adultery, which bars the recipient from any alimony. The issue is that we didn't record the call, and there was pretty much no proof outside of me and friends' word of adultery. So I hatched a plan to allow the cheating to happen. Ace was hesitant because she was my wife at the time, but honestly, I saw red, and that woman was done to me, so I couldn't care less. I wanted evidence of the cheating. Now, I gotta say, Ace managed to keep his cool and come up with the plan that seems so simple it's almost movie-like. We worked out the kinks together and decided that we could not speak of this until everything was done and dusted. Over the next hour, we planned out everything. He would accept her offer and meet my ex shortly after I left for work. I would feign missing a file and return, only to hear sounds and start recording. Then I would catch them in the act, pretend that it was alarming and cause a fuss. To this day, I think the only reason I was able to act surprised was because I was insanely angry at my ex, so everything just came out naturally. I asked Ace to buzz off forever once I caught them and told my wife that she'd hear from my lawyer. A bluff, I hadn't thought that far. I didn't bring up the bad-mouthing because I felt it would give away the whole plan. Cue my wife pleading and crying, literally begging me to forgive her and that it was a mistake out of desperation and loneliness. I told her I needed some time alone, walked out, drove to the nearest Walmart, and broke down in the parking lot. I hadn't had any time to grieve in nearly a day and had been focused on revenge. Then I called up a local attorney who seemed to have good ratings and told him what I had. I presented it as if I caught them in the act and didn't mention anything about the plan, even to my attorney. Ace and I had figured out earlier that it was technically giving consent, so it wouldn't be adultery, but nobody but us needed to know that, and we were okay with taking it to our graves if we had to. Sketchy? Yes. Deserved? Also yes. At the advice of my attorney, I returned home a couple hours later to pack my stuff and told my ex I'd be living separately and that she could expect divorce papers soon. She continued to bawl her eyes out, and those were genuine tears. I think she was really remorseful, but I didn't give a hoot. In fact, I drove the blade in deep. I reminded her of some of our fondest memories in college before our marriage, our honeymoon, some of the things I had done for her, etc., and how she repaid me by cheating with my best friend. It was a double-edged sword, because I started tearing up a bit, but I think it needed to be said. I ended it with a, "I hope y'all do the right thing," and left. I probably shouldn't have talked to her as suggested by my attorney, but hey, I had to make her feel like the jerk she was. I don't know if she was genuinely remorseful, or if my words stung her, or if she just broke internally, but she did not contest the divorce. I didn't owe her a cent in alimony and got away with just asset division. Some of our mutual friends caught wind of the cheating and pretty much shunned her from her circles. Her parents were kinda conservative and basically disowned her. Ace and I went cold turkey on her, and this woman basically didn't exist to me. Her standard of living just dropped drastically, and as of December 2020, she lost her job to the lockdown and had moved in with some guy according to one of those mutual friends. I'd be lying if I said the schadenfreude didn't put a smile on my face, but I do feel a bit bad for the woman that I once knew. There is one aspect I feel guilty about though. Our mutual friends who all sided with me after the affair think I'm an innocent and benevolent soul who was cheated on and even forgave his best friend. All my good fortune, next para, is apparently well-deserved, and I have a heart of gold. In reality, I'm quite the conniving guy, who basically ensured she'd be done for. I intend to keep it that way honestly. All they need to know is how much of a jerk my ex was, and I feel 100% justified in my actions. The only case I'd have considered breaking my silence is if anyone judged Ace harshly. However, Ace and I don't have mutual friends, and only our professional lives intersect. Here's the happy ending. The startup I worked for became successful, and I made quite a lot of money when it was sold to a bigger company, none of which went to my ex. Ace is a true bro, and unfortunately lost his job to the lockdown last June. I hooked him up with a better job at my parent company, cause that man deserves everything in the world and more. We still have our disagreements on the issue, except now we just laugh about how it saved me from a horrible marriage. How I got Karen's dog to stop going to the bathroom in my lawn. This happened about a year and a half ago, before the whole lockdown thing. I'd moved into a home a few months ago, and one of the reasons I especially liked this home was because of its nice lot and close parks. Anyway, one day a few months after I moved in, I noticed that there was a piece of doggy doo on the front lawn. I looked around and I didn't see anyone walking their dog. Quite a few of my neighbors had dogs, and I figured one of them had forgotten to pick it up after their dog. I got a plastic bag and threw it in the trash, and I thought nothing of it. Imagine my surprise when, 2 days later, there was another doggy doo on my lawn. This time, I saw Entitled Kid down the street walking his dog. I wasn't sure it was him, and his mother seemed kind of nice, so I thought I'd see if it happened again. A few days later, I was about to leave the house when I saw Entitled Kid with his dog going to the bathroom right on my lawn. I took out my phone and I recorded a video, and after I got back, I went to his house. Me: "Hello, miss. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting anything, but I was just wondering if we could talk about your son and his dog." Entitled Mom: "Of course. What's up?" Me: "I noticed Entitled Kid walking his dog outside my house, and I saw that his dog, went to the bathroom on my lawn, and Entitled Kid never picked it up. He carries bags when he walks his dog, and I'd appreciate if you could ask him to pick up after his dog from now on." Entitled Mom switching into full entitlement mode: "That's nonsense. My son would never do anything like that. Ask anyone. He's the most well-behaved kid in this neighborhood. Nee, I'm sorry, miss. I'm not saying your son is a bad kid or anything. I just want him to pick up after his dog. I even have a video of him walking away after his dog went on my lawn. Entitled Mom. Fine. I will talk to him. Now go away. She slammed the door in my face, and I thought that would be the end of things. Boy, was I wrong. I didn't see Entitled Kid walking his dog outside my house for a week or so after that. But around 10 days later, I saw another pile on my lawn. I'd had enough now, and I went back to Entitled Mom's house. Me. Miss, this is really unacceptable. You said you'd talk to your son, and now there's another pile of it on my lawn. That wasn't my son. He's an absolute angel. He said he'd never do it again, and he didn't. Entitled Kid came to the door. Entitled Mom. Entitled Kid, did your dog do on this man's lawn again? Entitled Kid is obviously lying through his teeth. No, never. That should be enough for you. Now don't come back again. I was having dinner at my new neighbor's house, and the topic of Entitled Mom came up. My neighbor told me that pretty much everyone hated this lady, as she was always borrowing stuff and claiming she never took it, filling other people's trash cans instead of paying for a special pickup. You get the idea. I finally broke when her doggy dude, not once, not twice, but 3 times on my lawn in the same day. I got an epic idea. This time, I used a plastic bag to pick it up, but instead of throwing it in the trash, I kept it out in my backyard. For the next week, I collected it from the lawn like a scientist, bagging every one. I'm sure if someone saw me, they would have thought I was crazy. After a week, I had around 4 bags of it in my backyard. On Friday night, I went over to her mailbox and absolutely caked it in her doggy doo. I got the sides, the top, the bottom. I completely covered the thing. The next day, I was treated to the sight of her husband hosing their mailbox off with a look of utter disgust on his face. After that, her kid mysteriously stopped walking his dog in front of my house. What would you do in this situation if you had a neighbor who kept letting their dog go to the bathroom in your lawn? Please let us know. I'd pick it up and throw it at their house like a monkey. Entitled Mom asks my opinion, doesn't like the answer. The other day, I was at my local reptile and exotic pet store to pick up some things for my small zoo back at home. When I entered the store, a young man was walking around clutching a snake to his chest. He seemed extremely upset and kept walking to the counter before quickly walking away, not saying anything. He appeared to be with 2 women, the girlfriend and her mother, I later found out, who seemed to pick at him every time he walked away from the counter. I personally thought the snake was ill, as the young man seemed to be almost in tears. I looked to one of the employees, but they waved me off and pointed me over another employee, Alex, who was unloading their newest shipment of critters. Alex was super excited to show me some new side-neck turtles that had just gotten in. He and I got into a pretty heated debate about the amount of care needed for turtles in general. I stated pretty loudly that while they were fun to look at and play with, I didn't want another aquatic animal in my house, as they need a lot of specialty care that I was horrible with. I suck with pH levels and testing, and I admit it. It was then that the mother of the girlfriend came over and interrupted our conversation. I will name her Donna. Hello, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but can I ask you a personal question, hun? Donna smiled at me. Sure, I shrugged, looking at Alex confused. So, if I'm hearing you correctly, you don't like turtles, right? So what would you do if your boyfriend decided to go out and buy a turtle and just take it home? Donna waved her daughter and the boyfriend over. Now, I'm a blunt person, and I wasn't sure where the conversation was going, but I had an idea. Looking between Donna and the upset boyfriend, I answered her question with a few of my own. Would I have to take care of it? That doesn't matter, she started. Actually, it does. It's not like a dog that's a joint commitment. If I don't want to take care of a reptile and it belongs to my partner, I'm not forced to. Am I afraid of turtles? I continue. No, they're just disgusting. The daughter/girlfriend snarks. She is now Karen. This is the wrong place for you to be shouting that kind of BS. I gesture around at the reptile owners, all of whom look a little insulted. I look at the boyfriend, who's not really paying attention. He's just staring at the snake and rubbing its chin. Finally, able to get a good look at the snake, I'm a little shocked. This isn't like a baby or even a juvenile animal that's normally sold in stores or shows. This is a fully grown and very well taken care of California king snake. Staring at the boyfriend a little more intently now, I notice an eerily similar snake tattoo on his arm with the name Tusker written under it. This is not new ink, this is old. Sweetheart, I coo gently to the boyfriend. How old is Tusker? The boyfriend finally makes eye contact. He's 10. My dad bought him for my 13th birthday. The boyfriend rasps out. Seething, I ask why he brought his baby here. He proceeds to tell me that his girlfriend of a year wants to move in with him, but told him he needed to get rid of his snake. He didn't want to, but Donna insisted he was being selfish, not getting rid of his baby for Karen's comfort.
Why does any of this matter? It's just a stupid snake, and you're supposed to love me.
Karen squeals and stomps her foot. Me. It matters, and your mom obviously thinks it matters since she lied about the circumstances to try and get the answer she wants. Honestly, you say if he loves you, he'll do this. Why isn't it if you love him, you'll get over yourself and try and find a balance? If he had a dog or a cat for that length of time, would you be trying to get rid of it? I snarl at her. Donna steps in.
But it's not. It's a snake.
You're right, which means instead of it being a few more years of joy and companionship from them, he will have Tusker for another 13 to 20 years. Given this conversation, I'm not confident that you'll still be in his life for that long. Karen looked like I had slapped someone. You asked my opinion, I'm telling it to you. I'd dump you long before I got rid of my babies. You came into a reptile store and expected a different answer, which is beyond stupid. Even if the lady or gents here agreed with you, they obviously lost the war since their partners are here shopping for those pets. The boyfriend seemed to get taller as he finally stood up straight. She's right. I'm not leaving Tusker here. I'm taking him home, and you can either come with me or stay here, he rasped.
I'm not going anywhere with that monster,
Karen screamed. Boyfriend turned around and walked out. He got into his car and left the two women there. Apparently, he had driven them there, which took a second for them to realize. Funny when they did. Funnier still when Alex felt the need to point out, I'm not her boyfriend. I'm gay. Good job, Alex. Thanks for the help. What would you do in this situation? Would you get rid of your pet if your significant other demanded it? Please let us know.
Heck no, but I'd get rid of them to be honest.
Am I the jerk for bringing out regular bread when a pregnant woman ordered garlic-free garlic bread? I'm a waitress at a restaurant. Earlier, a pregnant woman came in with her husband. When I went to get their orders, the woman asked for garlic-free garlic bread. I advised her that our garlic bread was just our regular bread with garlic butter instead of regular butter, and asked her to clarify if she just wanted regular bread. But she insisted no, she wanted our garlic bread, just without garlic. I let her know she could just order regular bread and it would be $1 less, but she insisted she had a huge craving for garlic bread without the garlic. I wasn't really sure what to do, but her husband got angry and said something like, "Can't you tell that she's pregnant? It's not that hard to just bring out garlic bread without garlic." So I took their order and told the kitchen she wanted garlic bread without garlic. Kitchen staff thought I was being snarky, but brought out the regular bread for her. She immediately starts crying and asking me if I was treating her like an idiot. How could I treat a pregnant woman so badly? Is it that hard to make garlic bread without garlic? But literally, we do nothing different to our garlic bread except use garlic butter instead of our regular butter. Her husband flagged down a manager telling me I was being condescending and that his wife had been craving this all week, but garlic was making her nauseous. The manager came over and I explained what was going on. The manager apologized and took the bread back and told me to just bring out another loaf of bread with garlic butter on the side. I was a little annoyed, but I did it and gave it to them. The husband got angry again, told the manager I was being intentionally difficult and cruel, then left with his wife, who ate the garlic-free garlic bread using the garlic butter. This just feels bizarre to me. Both me and my manager weren't really sure how to handle this. Am I the jerk for bringing out regular bread when the woman ordered garlic-free garlic bread? Edit to clarify. It's a focaccia loaf. The regular and garlic bread are baked the exact same way. It's just that one uses garlic and the other doesn't. Edit 2 to clarify further. The lady says she has been to the restaurant before. She was completely aware of what our garlic bread contained. She was specifically craving our garlic bread, which is a flat focaccia with salt, herbs, garlic, and butter. Our regular bread is the exact same thing with no garlic, so it has the salt, herbs, and butter. They are both served warm. The bread isn't toasted like Texas toast-style garlic bread. The focaccios are pretty flat, so you can't really toast it, but the crust is still pretty crunchy and buttery. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the customers? Please let us know.
I'd slip something else in that bread. Teach Karen to show some respect.
Am I the jerk for not paying the man who mowed my yard? Names have been changed. Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m., I woke up to the sound of suspiciously close mowing. Wondered what kind of monsters the neighbors to my right must be to mow so early. Our houses are so close they almost touch, and promptly fell back asleep. I got up again at 11 to go run some errands, and they were still making yard work noises, so I peeked out to see what was going on, and there was a man in my yard weed whacking. I rushed to get dressed, texted my mom to ask her what to do, and within 5 minutes got her answer. Go thank them and ask why they're there. After a few minutes of confusion, we realized he's been doing the wrong yard for my neighbor Eileen, who I haven't met yet. The price he had quoted her was $100. I didn't have any money to offer him, so I offered him a bottle of water. He apologized for being in my yard. It is gated, but the latch was broken. Hence how he was able to get in, and loaded up his truck. With the last load of stuff in hand, he yelled at me, "I'm just amazed by how with all your no soliciting and beware of dog signs, you couldn't come out and get me sooner." I apologized and told him I was asleep, and then he tacks on, "And you didn't even offer to pay me either." At this point, I'm a bit confused. Am I supposed to have paid him? I didn't order his services, and I didn't knowingly let him do my yard. But I also didn't have anything to offer him. I consulted my parents and a couple of friends, and they said I was right not to pay him, that it could have been a scam, and to check with Eileen as soon as I can. There are no cars in Eileen's driveway until roughly 2:30 p.m. I run out to greet her, and before I can confirm that she's Eileen, she says,
I see that my lawn guy did your yard instead of mine. Why didn't you stop him?
The following conversation ensues. It repeats itself several times. I've cut it down to one iteration. Me: I was asleep.
And you didn't offer to pay him?
No, I couldn't afford to. I just moved here, and I had to pay rent for April and May before my first paycheck gets here, as well as a deposit, car payments, groceries, other bills. I wasn't expecting this, and I didn't order it, so I didn't budget for it.
Right, but you didn't even offer to pay for it.
Me: correct, because I can't afford it. If he's hurting for money, I will be glad to pay him for his work in May when I get paid.
It's just that you didn't even offer, and you didn't stop him from rendering services either. We'll leave it at that.
Then Eileen's husband and mother peek out from the house, and I realize they've probably been there all day too. Why didn't they stop him? So I'm confused. My neighbors have made it clear what their expectations were, but my parents and close friends seem in direct disagreement. So I'm here to ask Reddit, am I the jerk? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Eileen? Please let us know.
Oh, I would have completely lost it on Eileen. I just can't deal with idiots.
Am I the jerk for tricking my coworker into eating MSG? I have a coworker, Trish, who's really into eating authentic cuisines from other countries and not wanting to eat the fake stuff. Example, she refuses to eat Domino's because according to her, Italians would never eat such a thing. She also claims that she has an MSG allergy. There's a Chinese restaurant close by, but we haven't catered from them since she made a large spectacle of stomach pains and headaches when we ordered from them over a year ago. She had ordered a separate dish of plain steamed veggies and meat, but claimed there must have been cross-contamination and demanded that we not cater from them again. Whenever someone gets Chinese takeout, she loudly talks about how it's fake, Americanized Chinese food and read that MSG would give us cancer. She frequently mentions how much she misses the real Chinese food she had when she went to China, once like a decade ago. She often comments on my food, I'm Chinese, which I cook from home, saying things like,
"Wow, that smells so good. You can tell it's authentic and doesn't have preservatives and isn't catered to white people like the food from that restaurant."
She's white. I mostly ignore this, and honestly, I wouldn't even call my food authentic Chinese food. It's just stir-fry with sauce generally. Last week, I volunteered to bring in food for my team of 6 people. Edit, to clarify, Trish is not part of this team, since I know they all like the food I make. I do cook with MSG sometimes. It's definitely not something all Chinese people do, but my family does it with certain dishes because it makes things delicious. There were some leftovers, which someone put in the fridge after the meeting with a note saying anyone could take some. I didn't really think about it since this is normal. Well, apparently Trish had some of the food I made. At the end of the day, she came by my desk and commented on how delicious my real Chinese food was. She claimed she could tell I made it without preservatives or MSG because she would normally get sick within minutes if she accidentally had MSG. She also claimed it tasted just like the food she ate when she was in Beijing. I'm not even from Beijing. After she went on for a few minutes, I just told her that there was actually MSG added to some of the dishes I made. But it was good to know her allergy was cured now, since I wouldn't want her to get sick. She freaked out and suddenly claimed she had a huge headache and felt like she was going to throw up. She yelled at me for not telling her I put MSG in the food. I didn't realize she would eat it, since she normally doesn't eat the communal food, and it was intended for my team members, not her. She went to HR because I supposedly tricked her into eating something I knew she couldn't eat, and now I have a meeting with HR next week. I don't know how this is going to go. In all honesty, maybe I was kind of hoping to peg down her anti-MSG crusade, but if she had asked, I would have told her what the ingredients were. Am I the jerk for not? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Trish? Please let us know.
Employees like Trish are the worst. Why are some people just so stupid and annoying?
Am I the jerk for telling my parents I would stop inviting them over if they don't stop bothering my cats? The other day, I, female 24, and my husband, male 27, had my parents over to hang out and have a few drinks. We have 2 cats that my parents love, but when my mom has a few too many drinks, she always tries to grab them and hold them. They're both pretty skittish and are quite shy around anyone who isn't my husband or I. I've told my mom quite a few times in the past not to grab them like that, because they obviously don't like it, but she does it almost every time. I was giving some treats to the cats, and my mom tried grabbing one of them, and I said, "You gotta stop doing that. You're gonna give them PTSD." Just joking around while trying to get my point across. Well, she goes to grab one of them again, and I raise my voice at her and say, "I'm not gonna invite you over anymore if you don't stop being a jerk to them." My dad then says, "Well, that's kinda harsh, don't you think? She's just playing with them." And I say, "Obviously I'm not serious, but she won't listen to me." To which my dad replied, "Well, I guess it's time to go home. Obviously they're sensitive about the situation." And then he walks out of my house and slams the door. My mom, confused, gives me a hug and says, "Okay, I guess it's time to go. See you for dinner on Sunday. Love you." And she leaves with my dad. About an hour after they left, my dad texted me saying that what I said wasn't fair and that family should come before pets, and refuses to believe that I wasn't being serious about not inviting them over in the future. Now it's Sunday. My mom canceled dinner. She says she's not even the slightest bit mad at me, which I believe, but won't give me a reason why they canceled. My husband says while he's proud of me for raising my voice, I may have sounded a little aggressive, and now my dad isn't really talking to me either. Am I the jerk? Edit. My mom isn't like this all the time. If she's not drinking, all she wants to do is give the cats cookies, and she only pets them when they come to her. Edit 2. Lots of you are saying to not serve my mom alcohol when she comes over if this is the case. Usually when we hang out, it's a bring your own beer situation because my husband and I don't drink much, so there isn't usually much more than a 6-pack in the fridge, if that. Am I the jerk for telling my wife to step up as a mother? So I, 33 male, had been married to my wife, 31 female, for 6 years. 2 years ago, we adopted our 2 kids, girl who's 7 and boy who's 5, from Haiti. They were toddlers when we brought them home, so we had never really been through the newborn stage. Well, my wife and I decided to have a biological baby. She's currently 5 months old. Well, when she was born, my wife decided she needed to make up for all the lost time that she was pregnant, and in doing so, kinda left all the childcare on me. My wife loves the baby and cuddles with her, but the second she starts crying, my wife hands her over to me. She knows how to change her, but she believes it isn't her job. It was never something we agreed upon, like some weird deal where we agreed she would carry the baby for 9 months and I would raise it. We formula feed, which I prefer, but I can't leave her home alone with the baby. Basically, yesterday I had to take my 7-year-old to a soccer game. I left my wife with the baby and she was just sleeping in her crib. My wife called me mid-game and screamed at me about leaving the baby with her. She said that she needed to be changed and I had to come back home and clean it up. I asked if she knew how to do it. She used to be a full-time nanny, and she said yes, but it's not her job. I drove back home, changed the baby, and took her back to the soccer game. By the time I came back, there were only about 10 minutes left. One of the other moms told me that my daughter had been switched to center mid-field and scored 3 times in a row and basically won for her team. I was so proud. When she was done, she asked why the baby was here, and I said I had to go pick her up. Then she asked if I had seen her while she was center mid, and I told her the truth. She was so upset and wouldn't talk to me. I, of course, didn't badmouth my wife to her. I offered to go get her ice cream, but she wasn't in the mood. When we got back home, I heard her crying to my wife. I obviously don't mind her venting to my wife, but my wife was saying things like,
Yeah, he shouldn't have done that.
and
I'm so sorry he treated you like that.
even though I told her on the phone that I was going to miss part of the game if I came and picked the baby up. My wife and I got in an argument later. I told her that she actually has to care for the baby, and she basically called me selfish and lazy. We go to a marriage counselor. We don't have many problems in our marriage, but we had to do it for the adoption, and we ended up sticking with it, as well as our own therapists. The marriage counselor has ruled out postpartum, and she has suggested for my wife to do more with the baby, but she doesn't want to. Here's where I am definitely the jerk. She said,
Stop acting like you're my slave or something.
I then snapped back, well, you need to step up as a parent. I know I'm the jerk for saying that to her, but am I the jerk for genuinely thinking it?
Come watch this video next. You're not gonna believe what happens in it. And huge shout out to our newest official channel members, Heather and DXRK. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really means the world to us. Join as a channel member today, and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And to have us make any kind of video that you'd like us to, head over to our Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.